I was always in a battle with Travis Pastrana, which is he was another icon of the sport.
Right.
You know, he was a little younger than me. So he would always come up with these crazy tricks because he had like a foam pit. And, you know, for me, when I first started backflip on a dirt bike, there was no foam pits. We had to learn it on dirt. So you just kind of, one day you said, okay, I got to figure out how I'm going to hang on to this dirt bike and gas it off this ramp and look back and not let go of this bike and hang on all the way around and land this thing. And for me, that was one of the biggest like challenges I've ever had in sport, was committing to it. Cause I tried it multiple times, and every time I get upside down, I'd just throw it, like get away from the bike.
Instinct, right?
Didn't trust it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting hurt quite a few times trying to learn it. Eventually one day I remember I just committed, hung on, and ended up landing it. And then I said, okay. So I just kept repeating, and then got more comfortable with it. Still to this day, it defies the odds of what's even right. You know, backflipping dirt bikes it's not probably the safest thing. But so the point with like the 360 and X Games, like every year, if you want to win X Games gold, you have to come with a new trick. That's just the rules, like, you know, the unspoken rule. So I come to X Games, the Staples Center, I think it was about 2003, and I didn't really have something new. And we just started introducing foam pits at the time, which was a big, you know, game changer in the sport because it's much safer and a lot less injuries. I mean, we created the sport with nothing, so it was a lot of broken bones. Like I broke a lot of bones, like trying to learn stuff. And so we had Travis Pastrana was doing some stuff, and I saw on the internet, and this is he was doing like some tricks in this foam pit. I saw him doing something that looked like a 360 deal, and I'm like, man, that looks cool. So I did my version, basically went in the foam pit and was trying to figure out how to do a 360. And I got it pretty close in the foam pit, but foam pit doesn't really count. It's just the foam pit.
Right.
So, and literally
you're not landing and riding it up.
You're not landing right away. Like you can do whatever you want in a foam pit, but it, like in the theory of action sports, it doesn't count. It's just foam pit tricks, you know, like it's like a dream, you know, you're dreaming basically until you land it on dirt in competition. It's not official. So this was like a couple days before X Games when I just started doing this and trying to figure it out. Like literally X Games was like in a few days. And that's when I like kind of saw him doing some different stuff. And I said, well, I need to figure out some different stuff. So I figured out the 360 in the foam pit. I went to the X Games in LA. And I remember we were doing our freestyle runs. Like a run was 2 minutes long, multiple tricks. And I did my run. It was okay, but I knew it wasn't enough to win. And I just kind of had that feeling like, dude, I have to do this 360. And I'm like, man, and in my mentality, that was my thought process before I dropped in. When I say drop in, you're at the top of the roll in, the whole crowd, there's 50,000 people in the stadium. And they're like, okay, Brian Deegan, you're live now on TV, go. And so you go down the ramp and you start your run. And I always had, you know, that moment was always so nerve wracking, like sitting up there, like going, man, and like in a few minutes, I'm either going to be stoked with a medal or I'm going to be in the ambulance. And that was kind of just the way it went. Yeah. And so I take off and doing my run, and I knew my run was decent. I probably did 6 or 8 tricks throughout my run. And then the time was running out, and I was like, man, if I'm going to win, I have to try this trick. And I was nervous because I'm like, there's a good chance I'm going to crash.
And you never landed it.
I never landed this thing to dirt. No. And I was like, last time I tried this, I was in the foam pit, like kind of getting close, you know? And so, but, you know, I was young, and you feel like in my mind, the mentality was there's an ambulance here. There's an ambulance, there's medics here, which is better than my backyard. You know, there's no medics there usually when I'm doing stuff. And so I'm justifying it, and I'm on live TV. Worst case, I have a big crash on TV. It's going to be cool either way. So I come around the corner. I'm like, all right, I'm going for it. I just remember I was so nervous. I was like, my heart was racing, and I come up this really steep ramp, and I go up the ramp, and I just like look over my shoulder. Like I just said, if I'm doing this, I'm going all the way. I'm not going to have to. I'm doing it like I think I know how to do it. Yeah. I'm committing. Yeah. Boom, go off the ramp, look over my shoulder, my left shoulder, and just start spinning. And I just remember I was like, the bike got super like flat, and I just remember looking, you could just see the crowd, right? And it was like silent. I'm like, and I'm like, come around, and then I'm spinning, and then I look, I see the landing. I'm like, okay, I see it. Boom, I come down the landing. I was under rotated, so like say the landing, I needed to land. I was kind of like coming in. I was like probably about a 270, 300, you know,
Okay.
and I'm like, oh, I'm going to slap down so bad. And my rear wheel went off the edge of the landing and basically 50-50 the landing, which means, you know, one wheel off the landing, one wheel on, and I slid my frame down the edge of the landing. Like, so, you know, I got super lucky that I landed on the edge of the landing. And I slid down. At that point, I just like strengthened it, muscled it, and just hung onto the bike. I was like, and slid down the landing and rode out of it. And I was like, it was just a moment that was like, defied all odds. I thought it was a 50-50, but I was like, this is all or nothing. Boom, landed it. And I just remember it was one of the coolest feelings of accomplishment for me, of conquering fear, that I was like, and then the crowd just boom went crazy, right? Because it was no one's ever seen nothing like that. And I think people expected Travis to be the one to do it, you know. And so I, you know, I just remember stop and take my helmet off and like to the crowd, stand in front of the crowd, just like so stoked to accomplish that. Throw my hands up, the crowd just, you know, it was one of those moments in sport that I was just like, was the ultimate moment. And then I just remember Travis went after me. His run was after mine, and he went and did his run, which was a really good run, and did all his tricks. And he went to the same jump and tried to do the 360 because he felt like he had to do it.
Sure, now he has to.
And you know, talking to him later, he was like, I was so bummed that you landed that thing, because he's like, I had to do it. And he's like, I didn't think I could land it either. And so he comes around, boom, does a 360 and does exactly what I thought I was going to do. He under rotates, boom, falls off the back of the bike, crashes. And so I'm like, cool, I won the event, you know? Yeah. And then it basically, there's politics and everything. So the judging, they said, oh, stop. And he basically like called the timeout, like was like, stop, timeout. And so he ends up going back around and jumping the jump and actually landing a 360, and they give him the win, you know? And I was like, it was so spoof for TV. Yeah. I'm like, bro, that was kind of a moment where I was like,
you did it first, you should have got it.
Yes, I was kind of one of those moments. I was like a big slap in the face, but I'm like, you know what? It was, I did it first. Yeah. I'm in the community of our community, you know, I got to claim it, and it was, you know, my trick at that point, which was for me, I thought was cool. And
well, you medaled 16 times.
And then the next night was best trick in the Staples Arena. The freestyle motocross is multiple jumps, a lot of different ramps. You get 2-minute run. Best trick was the event I loved, because it was one big trick, all or nothing. Who's got the biggest balls? How's this? You know, who's gonna throw it down? Right. Tonight. And that was inside the Staples Center, and you go down this big drop-in ramp to one big jump. And that night I was like, dude, I have to do this 360. And I ended up coming down the ramp, boom, land the 360, ended up winning the gold medal that, you know, for the best trick competition, which for me, that was my specialty, was best trick. I always liked the one big trick. And that's the event I'd, you know, medaled or won many times. And so it was cool. That was a cool moment.